You are listening to the AHO Radio Network with Outlier host John Krotec. My name is Jason Freebird Freeman, former professional boxer and mixed martial artist, cage fighter. On this special series, John and I will be discussing 4 boxing punches that helped shape my life. The jab, the cross, the hook, and the uppercut. If used effectively, these 4 boxing punches can shape your own life. Oh, by the way, my grandfather was Charles Manson, perhaps the most notorious cult figure in American history. I'll leave it at that. But thank you for listening to my story and supporting AHO Radio.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Krotec. I am the co-host of the AHO Radio Network. I am super excited to be on these special episodes of the AHO Radio Network because the story that we're going to tell in 8 episodes is one that you do not want to miss. I have with me today Jason Freebird Freeman, who is a former professional boxer and an MMA, mixed martial artist, cage fighter. This guy has been around and he's done a lot in his life. What's interesting about Jason is he's also the grandson of perhaps one of the most notorious cult leaders ever in American history. His grandfather is Charles Manson. Yeah.
That's what I get. What?
You'd say, no way, right?
No way.
Well, what's interesting, though, now he is the founder, the promoter, and the person that runs the Frontline Warrior Community Outreach Ministry. And what Jason has done is he has taken the legacy of the family name and taken all of that negative energy and aura associated with that, and he has turned it completely around into something real positive. And what we're going to discuss in these special 8 episodes are 4 different punches, right, Jason?
Yes, yes.
The jab, the cross, the hook, and the uppercut. And any boxer knows, or anybody involved in the fight game, those are the punches that help you to win.
You know, whenever you throw your jab is when you make that choice and you decide to fight. When you throw that cross, that's you dealing with your past. When you throw that hook, that's you hitting your target, hitting your weekly goals. And when you throw that uppercut, that's knowing who's in your corner, because you have to have the right people in your corner to help you get through life. And if you don't have those people around you, I suggest highly that you take that time and you find those people.
Awesome advice. And that's exactly what we're going to do, is we're going to dissect each of those punches, and we're going to do it from the Manson side, and we're going to do it from the fighter mentality side.
Yes.
And what we're going to do, and what we want our viewers and listeners to see, is how Jason's story was able to help propel him forward through all of the tragedies and all the challenges and all of the hardships of his life into something way more positive. And so, as Jason just said, the first punch that we're going to describe is the jab. When did you first decide as a Manson that you were going to fight? Tell us a little bit about the backstory on that. Well,
the backstory really hit me in the face when I walked into our eighth grade history class with Mr. Wright. He had Charles Manson's name on the chalkboard, and I froze. I thought, well, why is my grandfather's name on the chalkboard? And is this about me, for me? I didn't know what.
Yeah. I mean, a major shock, but
Yeah, because I wasn't allowed talking about it in my home. It was a cuss word, and I get it. But here we are now in 8th grade history class, learning about my grandfather.
And that's what it was. It wasn't to call you out or anything, because most people didn't really even know.
Right.
It was about to talk about that cult figure you knew immediately was your granddad. I mean, there's no BSing around here, and you're thinking, holy cow, what the heck is going on?
Yeah. I felt really awkward. A good friend of mine, as I made my way to the back and sat down, I looked back at the front door, and there he was. He was looking back at me, and he just gave me a thumb. He just gave me a thumbs up, and I just felt that, heavy weight lifted off my shoulders just by just that little bit of encouragement.
Well, so that was really then, Jason, let's get to this, man.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the first time in your life that you were confronted with facing this dark secret. Pretty much the first time.
Yeah, and it really hit whenever after that history class, because everybody had the same class all day long. So by the time the day was over, kids were asking me questions, people were looking at me funny, and then it got back to my mother and my dad.
So people really were, there was the chatter was going on. You know, we all know how school is.
Yeah.
It's a small school, you were in Ohio, you know, the word's going to travel really quick.
Yeah.
So you're already thinking, holy cow, the word's out. I've been busted out and
I'm out. It's out there. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't know how to, because I can't personally talk about the murders or what went on, because there's so many different stories out there that
and you're only in the 8th grade. I mean, you can only process so much, right?
Yeah.
So
we're just processing as being a mind controlling cult figure, and that's how we had those people do what they did.
Yeah. So you had been told, you had heard whatever, you know, most of us had heard. And so you had this dark secret that you weren't supposed to talk about. And then all of a sudden it's out. You're in the 8th grade. You know, how had you been dealing on a personal note as a Manson, as Jason Freeman?
Mm-hmm.
How had you been dealing with that secret anyways? What did that secret do to you?
Well, you know, it felt weird to not get a good conversation with my family tree as I started to want to understand. I come to realize that all that pent up aggression and the frustration and the anger really opened up and turned into positive energy when I hit the wrestling mat. I joined the football team, did some track events, and things were easier. I wasn't the best talker. I couldn't get my words out even if I tried. So I knew being in that ring of life in there, it's one-on-one. It's him or me. Who's going to shine that day?
So you were wise enough to know, I'm thinking if I can get this right, you were wise enough to know that you had to do something with that secret, with that pent-up anger.
Yes.
And so you turned to sports, which is, you know, makes sense. You know, you're coming of age, you know, you're into competition. We're guys, you know, we want to get in there and get in the ring or get on the field. And so you made the choice. You made, in fact, you were probably playing sports before that.
Yes.
So subconsciously, you had already made a choice, and we're always talking about choices, right? You had made a choice to take those things that were bothering you about your granddad, about your family's past, and turn them into something more positive. So whether you know it or not,
right,
you were starting early already. The Manson, the human inside of you was already looking for ways to turn it into something good.
Turn what's there, walking a different walk, so one day when it matters, it could shine like it's doing now.
Great. And so let me ask you, you know, you mentioned jab. We're talking about the 4 punches, and you mentioned it. Tell us about the jab. What does the jab do in boxing? What is it all about?
Well, the jab, it can keep people at bay at a certain distance.
Yeah.
You know, so when you decide to fight, when you're tired of getting slapped around by the things of this world or by the people of this world, when you stand up or you get yourself back off the canvas or get your mud out of the muck, you know, and realize you don't have to stay there. That's what that jab means to me, is I'm getting back up. I'm standing back up. I'm going to keep that jab in your face because I know that's going to keep life at bay.
So the fighting spirit was already alive and well with you at a young age already.
Yeah, we were already boxing out back at the age of 9 and 10. Age 12, I was already learning every kick possible by my dad in the basement. You know, we had a boxing bag down there. We had weights in the basement. It was rusty weights. We had to clean the floor every other day. And that's how I was. I'm a garage type guy who just comes out raring, ready to go. But
what do they call that? Grassroots boxing or something? And, so yeah, I mean, I hear you. So so would you say that as far as the jab, deciding to fight, putting it in a metaphor for daily living, would you say that the epiphany came to you to face the Manson name when you saw it written on the blackboard? Would you say that was a turning point in your life?
That was a good eye opener for me to see why my parents were trying so hard to keep it a secret.
Did you ever go to them and ask them, what's up with this? I mean, is there more that you can tell me, or were you still just trying to, to find your way?
Well, it never really became a discussion without the anger setting in of the situation and others being faced with having to bring that up again. So nobody wanted to face it head on.
Well, this is what's interesting that you mention it like that, Jason, is that, gosh, don't we all kind of have secrets? Follow me on this, man.
Yep.
Don't punch me, but don't. So we've all got these secrets. No, okay. But we've all got these secrets, right? And then we decide not to deal with them, so we stuff them. And when we stuff the truth about who we are, doesn't it kind of make us feel less than, and we get angry because we can't vocalize or demonstrate really what's going on?
You can't let it out. It's in there. And who can you let it out to if no one's listening? Yeah,
so it just festers. So there you go. So there you have it. You knew a little bit about the family background. You didn't know all the details. You're still in junior high school.
Yeah.
And then the name is blasted out there. Everybody starts to know. You made a decision inside. You had already been working on it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You'd already been doing your sports stuff before that day.
Yep.
And you knew that was a way that you could transform that anger, hiding that secret, into something that was going to be more, you don't want to say profitable, you're not out to make money in junior high school.
Right.
But something that was more positive.
Mentally, it was an opportunity to get those frustrations out that were in there, that I knew was in there, that was bottled up, was on the mat, was running and training and weightlifting and just being. It was an individual sport. No matter which sport you're in, you are the individual that'll make it or break it. And if you're not meant to be there, then you will not be there, because each individual makes his own path. Sports athletes, you can't just become a boxer. You can't just walk into that ring. It took time. It took years of training, but instinct that was already inside of me was that focused aggression, because I couldn't just take my aggression out on any average person on the street. It had to be channeled. So I kept it, and I would hold it,
right,
until wrestle-offs or until that match. When you're out there and it's him or you.
Right, and a wrestle-off, for those of you who are watching and listening to our conversation, that's wrestling, and those are guys that are competing for a certain weight class.
Yeah.
So you're channeling this secret, this dark side, into something more positive. And your plan was sports. Yes. That was it. That was going to lead this transformation and be able to take the anger associated with keeping a secret like that. I can't even imagine, honestly. And I've got some pretty crazy stuff in my background, but you're working on something really good right off the bat.
Yeah, it took a lot of years to even be able to look back and see how far I did come and put a lot of the pieces of where God moved in my life and the traits from my grandfather's side to my mom's grandfather's side to just come to understand myself more.
Well, we're going to get there too, because you're alluding to some of the punches that are coming up. But I got to hand it to you, and kudos to you for your courage, even at such a young age, to say to yourself inside, I'm going to take that stuff and I'm going to turn around and do something good with it. You hadn't really started getting in any trouble yet. We're going to get to that, because we all get into trouble at times, especially when we're dealing with stuff. So, so we're going to wind up, episode 1 here on the AHO Radio, we're speaking with Jason Freeman and about the jab and his decision and his epiphany moment in the 8th grade to take that dark secret and the legacy of his family into the sporting world and in this boxing world.
Yes.
So is there anything you'd like to say about that transformation with that final decision? Is there what would you say to somebody that takes them to that jab?
Yeah. Well, whenever you want to work on, let me see here. The jab has a meaning. Decide to fight. And when you decide to fight each day for this day and for the things to come tomorrow, that's where you're able to get up off the canvas. You got to find your own, you got to find the most important thing in the world is to give back, is to be consistently giving back into what once gave to you. If I didn't have my all my coaches, I wouldn't have had my cornerman back then.
Well, you know what? We're going to get to that punch because, who's in your corner, but, with the uppercut. But what's interesting? And you just alluded to it. Every day. If you watch a boxing match, and I'm just a guy I've never been a professional boxer, been in a few fights, but, the jab is the punch that seems to me that's used quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's a jab. Remember in those movies, Rocky movies, stick and move, float like a butterfly. So the jab seems to be the punch.
That's the one that'll keep life
going
at bay, where you got time to pull yourself back together. But you can't not throw that jab. You can't just stay on the canvas. You can't just stay on the couch and think something's going to come to you. We have all the talent, everything in the world. We just have to go get it. We have to make that choice to stand up and decide to fight.
Well, there you have the words of the man himself, dealing with the legacy of the name Charles Manson, making the decision inside that he's going to start getting up off the canvas, deciding to fight each day and jabbing. You want to join us for the second part of the jab, because the second part of the jab, I know a little bit about his story. I know a little bit about what's burning inside of his heart, but we're going to talk about when he decided to fight as a fighter and not necessarily as the grandson of Charles Manson. So join us for the second episode coming up. All right, Jason, anything you'd like to add to the jab before we get into the fighter side?
Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Let it flow. Let it loose.
Awesome. Thanks. Join us on this next episode where we finish out the jab and the fighter arises. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to my Decide to Fight story. My name is Jason Freebird Freeman, the grandson of Charles Manson. I hope you join John and myself for another episode of Decide to Fight on AHO Radio, the place where we engage in real conversations without all the hype.